Good afternoon, good evening, everyone, and welcome to MBNK News. I am Veronique Lawson for this special news report edition. One of MBN's mission is to deliver factual and independent news reporting each month, focusing on the important story that we deem worth giving over as we contrast them with the original truth, the kingdom truth. Our aim is continuing to deliver some intriguing updates with the most impactful and current news story on the latest global line. This month, editor speak are as follows, so let's dive in. Kickstarting with our national news item on the agenda, we have the LA immigration raids that happened on June 6th. Saw a protest erupt in Los Angeles after Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, agent raided several city locations to arrest individuals allegedly involved in illegal immigration to the United States. Federal officials create a skirmish line to push back protesters gathering in downtown Los Angeles. Let's hear the tale from Key TA 5. Thank you.
Chaos erupts here in LA County. Widespread immigration raids triggering protests from Paramount to downtown. And tonight, an unlawful assembly has been declared as President Trump announces he will be deploying thousands of National Guard troops here to Los Angeles. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the News at 10. I'm Rick Chambers. Major developments during a second day of violent confrontations between protesters and federal agents who are out on the streets trying to round up undocumented immigrants. As I mentioned, President Trump has ordered 2,000 National Guard members to counter that violence. And that angered Governor Newsom, who said that the move was purposely inflammatory and will only escalate the tensions. We've got team coverage tonight of these raids. KTLA5's Lindsay Pena is in downtown LA. Sky 5 is over the situation as well. But let's go to Chris Wolf. He's in Compton tonight where the clashes first erupted earlier. Chris?
Rick, unrest in Southern California continues tonight with more clashes between protesters and federal agents and deputies and police over expanding immigration operations. Take a look at the scene behind me. This intersection here in Compton has been the scene of several street takeovers, so it is a hotspot for activity. We've seen continual fireworks going off. The police chopper is overhead. Now President Trump says he is sending the National Guard to this region. Last night we were in downtown Los Angeles, as many viewers may remember. Earlier today we were in Paramount, now Compton, all volatile locations. Chaos and calamity rocked Paramount Saturday on the second day of demonstrations against federal immigration operations in Southern California. KTLA was on the ground and in the air, capturing the explosive environment. The mayor of Paramount says tension escalated after U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, or ICE, and other federal agents were apparently staging at or near a local Home Depot center.
And ICE is here, terrorizing the community.
Throngs of protesters gathered in the industrial area, sparking more clashes between law enforcement and members of the community. Crowds taunted authorities, with some people going so far as to block a U.S. Marshals Service bus, while others hurled rocks and other objects at law enforcement vehicles, according to the LA County Sheriff. Federal agents responded with pepper balls, rubber bullets, tear gas, and flashbangs.
In the last several hours, unfortunately, the crowd has grown. We believe at this time it's at approximately 350, maybe 400. As the crowd has grown, it has become more violent.
A wooden pallet and then a car went up in flames during the unrest, sending black smoke into the air. The cause of the car fire is unclear. Federal officials say the government is doing its job, enforcing the law, protecting the public, and securing borders. Opponents say this is not justice, but madness. and that hardworking people are being treated like criminals.
You know, my whole family is scared, our neighbors. I came out and wanted to see what was all the commotion, and sure indeed, there were ICE agents. It's starting again.
Yeah, beanbag. Yeah, they threw several beanbags at me. I went near them and I said, I'm here for a peaceful assembly.
The Homeland Security sweeps are part of the Trump administration's unparalleled crackdown on illegal immigration. Back here live with a large crowd gathering in Compton. According to ICE, agents arrested as many as 118 people in Los Angeles this week, including 44 during operations in downtown and South Los Angeles on Friday. We'll have more coming up throughout the night. For now, reporting live in Compton, I'm Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News.
Thank you very much, KTL and Sky 5 and Rick Chambers for that report. Next, June 14, 2025 marked the 250th anniversary of the U.S. Army. Before they were a country, or before they were a constitution, there was an army. June 14, 1775, which happened to coincide with President Trump's 79th birthday this year. Although the event was overshadowed with no King's Riot protests, the well-organized and much-anticipated parade in honor of the U.S. Army that took place in Washington was historical, in tenure, and unprecedented. Let's watch the tale from Washington Times. Thank you.
I'm Matt Delaney with the Washington Times. We're here on the National Mall for the Army's 250th anniversary celebration. We've been out and about prior to this, talking to people on the mall, talking to attendees, talking to veterans, talking to soldiers currently in the force, about the equipment they work with, talking to veterans about what they think about the celebration, and people coming to visit, see how they're enjoying the day.
Hey, I'm Captain Michael Austin from the 75th Ranger Regiment.
Captain, can you tell us what's going on in your tent here?
Yeah, so set up to kind of show the public what the Ranger Regiment is, what we do, and then display some of our equipment for them. So I've got 9 guys here from across the Ranger Regiment, and just been interacting with the public since about 8 this morning.
You got a favorite piece of equipment yourself?
Man, for me, it's the URGI M4s. It's our standard rifle that we have. Super accurate. I love them.
What's it been like talking with the people today?
Oh, it's been awesome. It's been awesome. Everybody out here coming from a bunch of different backgrounds, met people from different states, different countries, and everybody is just like pumped to be out here, asking lots of great questions. Some people interested in joining, which is cool. We love to motivate them to do that. And then some people just want to learn more about the Army, and that's been awesome too.
My name is Vibe.
Yeah. Amar.
Shane Jenkins.
And you, sir?
George Riley.
And of course, President Trump over there on his birthday. Yeah. Guys, what brought you out to the celebration today?
We want to experience the culture. We want to support our troop. We want to support our country.
This is an opportunity for people to feel proud to put on the uniform and to recognize that they are contributing to a timeless, honor-bound legacy of sacrifice and diligence. And being the vanguard for liberty is something that each of these individuals in the military, like myself, used to be, was willing to sign the blank check to defend. So we made it out, and now this is the best way to celebrate, giving back to the people, showing them that it's a pleasure and an honor to be willing to sacrifice side by side with men who are willing to do the exact same for centuries past.
It's an honor to be here to support our troops, and to help boost the morale for incoming people that are looking to join the Army. It's an awesome way to show, America's strength and power and just boost the morale. I think it's an honorable thing to serve and lay down your life for your country or sacrifice years of your life for so everybody else at home can be free. You know, they're fighting for our rights. So
as for myself, I was a scout sniper with the 101st, and to me, I feel like all this patriotism, the celebration of the birthday, is like finding an American flag in a mud puddle it's got holes in it, and you take it and you clean it and you sew up the holes and you put it up on a flagpole and you realize it's still something you could be proud of.
We drove here like 4.5 hours just for the parade, so just to support our military. So yeah, we're damn excited. 6:30, we're gonna see that.
Where's home for you guys?
We live in Virginia. I live in Virginia.
What part?
Woodbridge.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's a lot of traffic, and it's good to be here in DC. It's a good weather too, and definitely we're here for the U.S. Army.
Guys, we'll let you go so you get some good seats for the parade, all right? Thank you again for your time.
USA.
Welcome back. Thank you very much again, Washington Times, for that video. We truly pay us our tribute for the sacrifice that the military have done. Thank you. Next, on the other hand, the No King riots are mainly opponents of President Trump administration, protesting against what they call authoritarian actions of the Trump administration. Organizers say more than 5 million Americans pour into the street under the banner of No Kings, accusing President Trump of attempting to amass too much power and targeting innocent people in a sweeping mass deportation program. The protests were also in part a response to the administration decision to host a grand military parade, which you just saw, in honor of the Army 250th birthday, which happened to coincide with Trump's birthday on Flag Day. I mean, there was just a lot of celebration on June 14. Please, let us turn the tail to NBC Ryan Nobb's report.
To Atlanta, to Chicago, and in the nation's capital, organizers say more than 5 million Americans poured into the streets under the banner of No Kings, with the goal of sending President Donald Trump a message about the direction of his administration.
I didn't expect to be fighting fascism in my 50s.
The protests were in part a response to the administration's decision to host a grand military parade in Washington in honor of the Army's 250th birthday, which just happened to coincide with President Trump's birthday. Trump telling the crowd the day was about America's fighting force.
Every other country celebrates their victories. It's about time America did too.
The parade crowds were moderate amid intermittent rain and intense security all around the route, with those there calling the event a success.
It's patriotic. It's amazing.
But that celebration was juxtaposed by a mass mobilization in other parts of the country.
We just feel like that our democracy is in danger.
Protesters in thousands of demonstrations nationwide accusing President Trump of attempting to amass too much power and targeting innocent people in the administration's sweeping mass deportation program.
Well, we haven't had a king since 1776. We want to keep it that way.
Though largely peaceful, police say one person died when gunfire erupted at a protest in Salt Lake City, while in some others, demonstrators clashed with law enforcement. More than 30 were arrested in Denver. And in Los Angeles, after days of tension and conflict, police accusing protesters of throwing rocks, bottles, and fireworks at officers. The city's downtown area remains under an 8 p.m. curfew as police attempt to keep the peace.
And the Trump administration has not backed down from using the military to try and contain the violence in Los Angeles. This despite pleas from state and local leaders that it is unnecessary. In a preliminary ruling, a federal judge held that the president illegally deployed troops to the city without local input. An appeals court stayed that ruling until Tuesday, giving them a chance to weigh in. Craig?
Ryan Nobles Force there in Washington. Ryan,
thank you, Ryan, for that report. Moving to the next topic. 2020 U.S. presidential election is back on the news. A new bombshell from FBI Director Kash Patel revealed a chill about the 2020 presidential election with newly declassified documents. Let's hear some more from Kyle Becker of Explain America. Thank you.
There's a reason they fought so hard to silence us about the 2020 election. And now we finally know why. This is Explain America. I'm your host, Kyle Becker. Please be sure to like, comment, and share this episode, because if we don't expose what really happened in 2020, it's going to happen again. Here's what we learned. According to newly declassified documents turned over by FBI Director Kash Patel, the American people were never told the full truth about foreign interference in the 2020 election, because the FBI itself told U.S. spy agencies to destroy the evidence. In August 2020, the FBI received a report from a confidential human source alleging that the Chinese Communist Party was manufacturing fake U.S. driver's licenses and secretly shipping them to Chinese nationals in the U.S. sympathetic to Beijing. The goal: to create tens of thousands of fake mail-in ballots to swing the election to Joe Biden. The memo had a blunt subject line, quote, Chinese government production and export of fraudulent U.S. driver's licenses to Chinese sympathizers in the United States in order to create tens of thousands of fraudulent mail-in votes for U.S. presidential candidate Joe Biden, unquote. Let that sink in. But here's where it gets worse. Within days of sending this raw intelligence report to other federal agencies, the FBI suddenly recalled it. And not just for editing or review. They issued a directive to other spy agencies to, quote, destroy all copies, unquote, of the memo and erase it from all computer systems. Quote, recipients should destroy all copies of the original report and remove the original report from all computer holdings, unquote, the recall order said. In other words, the FBI knew, and they buried it. Why? To protect the narrative. Because the official line in 2020, pushed by then FBI Director Christopher Wray, was that Russia is interfering to help Trump and there were no real threats from China. And now we know that Customs and Border Protection intercepted nearly 20,000 fake driver's licenses from China and Hong Kong, en route to key Midwestern battleground states around the exact same time. And while the FBI claimed they needed to re-interview the source, there is no record that the allegations were ever reinvestigated or publicly disclosed. According to the Intel memo, China allegedly harvested user data from millions of TikTok accounts to build fake IDs that would pass as authentic and match the addresses of real Americans. So they wanted to use these IDs to request mail-in ballots with real names in order to make fraudulent votes. And this was all called a conspiracy theory. They were told to shut up. And people were banned, demonetized, fact-checked, all while the FBI was burying this evidence. So thanks to the work and partnership of Chairman Grassley, said Kash Patel, we've located documents which detail alarming allegations related to the 2020 election. Allegations which were substantiated, they were nonetheless abruptly recalled and hid from the public. So Senator Chuck Grassley is demanding answers. Who ordered the memo's recall? Why was the FBI hiding election-related national security threats? And who made the call to destroy the evidence? America deserves answers, and not just answers, consequences. This isn't just about election interference anymore. This is about sabotage from inside the federal government and a coordinated effort to protect a candidate the intelligence community favored and to undermine our democratic processes. If they covered this up in 2020, what else are they hiding now? This has been Kyle Becker with Explain America. Please like, comment, and share. Let us know what you think about the 2020 election, what can be done to get more clarity about what happened. This is a bipartisan issue. This isn't a Republican versus Democrat issue. You can be a Trump supporter or a Biden supporter, or you can be Obama supporter. It's not about the candidate. It's about legitimate elections. Because if we don't have those in the United States, well, then all our talk about politics is going to be moot. We need to really do something serious about this. Whether or not it was enough to sway the election is not the point. The point is that this was a cover-up, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
Indeed, Carl, this was a cover-up, and the American people need not only to get to the bottom of it, but demanding accountability, justice for 2020 is not over yet. Thank you. Equally important, big victory for our kids. For years, the LGBTQ community movement wrecked up the state of legal victory around marriages, military service, and employment rights. But a political backlash has been brewing, and on June 18, brought a profound setback. In a landmark 6-3 decision on the same day, the U.S. Supreme Court upheld Tennessee's ban on gender-affirming medical treatment for minors, delivering a resounding victory for the protection of children across America. The Supreme Court ruled that states can bar doctors from providing puberty blockers and cross-sex hormone to minors who identify as transgender. This decision not only safeguards Tennessee's children, but set a powerful precedent for states to prioritize science and child welfare over ideological agenda, contouring rogue hospitals and organizations that exploit vulnerable youth for profit. Let's turn our attention to the tale.
Could have sweeping impacts on the families of transgender children.
In a 6-3 ruling, the Supreme Court held a Tennessee state law banning gender-affirming care is lawful. Raquel Martin has the story.
The Supreme Court's conservative majority is upholding a Tennessee law allowing the state and another 24 more to ban gender-affirming care for minors.
Because the medical evidence continues to come in showing that this is not an appropriate treatment for kids.
Tennessee Attorney General Jonathan Scrimetti argued the case.
The real scandal is how we got to this point.
These are kids.
Missouri Republican Senator Josh Hawley calls the ruling common sense.
They come in with often mental health issues, and these doctors say, what needs to happen is you need to have a gender transition surgery that's going to sterilize you for life. That is just wrong.
In his opinion, Chief Justice John Roberts argued the case did not violate the Constitution's Equal Protection Clause. He writes, quote, given fierce scientific and policy debates, the decision should be left to the states.
It's an awful decision.
Democrats call the ruling inhumane.
This Supreme Court seems to have forgotten that one of their jobs is to protect individual rights.
In her 31-page dissent, Justice Sonia Sotomayor writes the decision lacks proper judicial review and, quote, abandons transgender children and their families to political whims. The ACLU, which brought the case to the Supreme Court, fears thousands of families will have to relocate to seek care. The country's leading medical organization, including the American Medical Association, argue hormone treatment or puberty blockers save lives.
It's devastating for the people who are most affected.
In Washington, Raquel Martin.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to MBN&x. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Welcome back. Now let's turn our attention to European, Middle East, and Asia news coverage by our local news reporter, correspondent Victoria.
Thank you very much, Veronique. Thank you. And today we're going to start with Jordania, more concretely with its king. King Abdullah II was speaking at the European Parliament in Strasbourg, and he warned that Israel's recent attacks on Iran risk a dangerous escalation in the Middle East and beyond. And he urged Europe to take the threat seriously, emphasizing the potential fallout of an unchecked Israel-Iran conflict. Let us see the tale.
Threats, unprecedented technological acceleration, rampant hypercharged misinformation, and a raging war in Ukraine and a cruel one on Gaza. And now the attacks on Iran, which threaten a dangerous escalation of tensions in my region and beyond.
And speaking of Israel, we are now moving on to Gaza. Dozens of Gazans were waiting for aid. They were killed by gunfire. In Gaza, Rescue says Israel attacks killed more than 70 people on Thursday, the 19th of June, including 21 who had gathered near aid distribution centers as famine looms. Just 2 days ago, Israeli military forces reportedly fired at a crowd waiting for UN food trucks in southern Gaza, killing dozens. Let us hear the tale.
Gaza now, where the Strip's civil defense agency says Israeli attacks killed more than 70 people on Thursday, including 21 who had gathered near aid distribution centers. Now, this incident comes as famine looms in the territory, driving people to desperation. Just 2 days ago, Israeli military forces reportedly fired at a crowd waiting for UN food trucks in southern Gaza, killing dozens. A warning, our next report starts with some disturbing images.
Their wounds are treated at Al-Shafi Hospital in Gaza City. Several children were brought here after a deadly attack on tents in the city's Al-Shati camp. The hospital director told AP that women and children were among the dead.
We were passing by Al-Susi Mosque in Al-Shati camp. A missile landed next to a soup kitchen where there were young children. We looked for my niece. They told us she was martyred. We came to the hospital. It's full of wounded people and martyrs. They're lying next to us. My niece is still missing and my sister is missing as well.
There was no immediate comment from the Israeli army on Thursday's airstrikes. While the bombardment continues, the search for food in Gaza is getting increasingly dangerous. Gazan medics say dozens of Palestinians have been killed by Israeli fire as they try to get food from US-backed aid distribution sites. These women walked long distances looking for something to eat.
See, they're shooting randomly and we're by the sea. When we go to get aid, our children start crying, they can't take it.
The UN Office for the Coordination of Humanitarian Affairs says widespread bombardment, shelling and shooting continues across Gaza, including among those who are trying to receive aid.
You either come back with food, wrapped in a shroud, or you come back without food and your children cry. We're being slaughtered, we can't do it anymore.
Today, the journey ends in tears. The UN says the food distribution system is inadequate and dangerous. Israel says it's needed to prevent Hamas fighters from diverting aid. Aid agencies, however, say there is no evidence of widespread theft.
Now we're moving on to Thailand. And a leak-phone conversation between Thailand's Prime Minister and a Cambodian politician has sparked political turmoil and pushed the Thai government to the brink of collapse. Thailand leader, let me see if I can pronounce it correctly, Paetongtarn Shinawatra was heard discussing a long-standing border dispute with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen. She's facing growing calls to resign. Let us hear.
Between Thailand's Prime Minister and a Cambodian politician has sparked political turmoil and pushed the Thai government to the brink of collapse. Thailand's leader Paetongtarn Shinawatra was heard discussing a long-standing border dispute with former Cambodian leader Hun Sen. She is facing growing calls to resign.
Protests are gathering pace on the streets of Bangkok after a conversation between the Thai Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra and former Cambodian leader Hun Sen was leaked. The two were discussing a century-long border dispute when Shinawatra addressed Sen, a veteran politician, as uncle and referred to a Thai commander as an opponent, forcing her into a public apology.
It should not have happened. I'm sorry for all the people that I've upset. I'd like to insist again that the government and the military are working together in unity, and we would also like all the people to be unified with us in order to protect our sovereignty.
The crisis is political dynamite for Thailand's pro-military and pro-monarchy opposition, with many calling for her to go.
I'm here because I want the Prime Minister to be removed from her position, because we have a Prime Minister that doesn't love Thailand, doesn't protect Thailand's interests. This government has betrayed the Thai people by trying to separate our land to give to Cambodia.
Shinawatra comes from one of Thailand's most powerful political dynasties and follows in the footsteps of her father and aunt, both prime ministers, and both ousted from power in military coups. Thailand has experienced a dozen since it became a constitutional monarchy in 1932. The kingdom has mostly been ruled by conservative and military leaders. Shinawatra has been PM for little under a year and now faces a political crisis within a system where the odds are already stacked against her.
Now, moving on to Europe. Polish MP Grzegorz Braun's destroyed an exhibition promoting LGBTQ ideology in the Polish parliament today. Let us see.
pośle, przywołuję pana do porządku. Proszę nie niszczyć wystawy. Przywołuję pana do porządku. Niszczy pan mienie. Legalna wystawa w Sejmie. To jest zgorszenie publiczne. A czym jest to zgorszenie?
Whether this was staged or not, it doesn't really matter, because at the end of the day, he was destroying. He is very much for God, and you can see that he's on fire for God, and he was destroying something that is not pleasing to God. So we like it. So good for you. Good for you. Now, let us move on and continue with Poland, actually. And Poland has declared that he is a Christian nation. And there were thousands gathering in the streets to proclaim that they are indeed a Christian nation. Let us hear the tale. As you see, this is a 300,000 Polish patriots on the streets to declare Poland is a Christian country. And Britain and the rest of Europe must take note and follow Poland's example. Although I believe that Britain is beginning to also follow that example. Let us see that this continues to get cascaded or infected in the rest of Europe to the king. And continuing with the LGBTQ theme, since this seems to be the month, allow me to show you now what pride in Russia, how can pride in Russia only took 10 seconds to get away from the streets. Thank goodness that common sense is with the Russian people. Thank goodness for that. Moving on, we're now looking at technology. Let me ask you a question. What does the Bible has got to do with artificial intelligence? Well, it looks like people are now using AI to depict biblical stories. Let us see.
Your boy David here, about to yeet this little stone at Goliath and see what happens.
Okay, so I told y'all to trust the process, but no, y'all wanted to stay in Egypt stacking bricks.
Yo, it's Shadrach. This random dude just showed up. It's getting lit in here.
I got the horses in the back. Horse tack is attached. Hat is matte black. Got the boots that's black to match.
You know I'm a daddy's boy. He's got me in this Technicolor drip. Brother's so jelly right now. They're looking a little sus.
These Philistines thought they could flex on me. Big mistake. I just took some pre-workout and finna bring the house down.
I would like to formally apologize to God, the sailors, and this whale. Sorry, dude.
I tell you, Satan didn't have this one in his bingo cards, huh? Okay, this is it. This is it for me. And now over to you, Veronique.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to MBN. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Welcome back, and thank you very much, Victoria, for that hero Asia, and the Middle East extensive coverage report for the month of June. Indeed, we are winning, and we are winning so great. I like that. I like your latest video report on the AI and how those people could really use it for good. Now, it's great to stay up to date with the latest development on health. Let us hear the tale from our health news reporter, Aida. Thank you.
Thank you, Veronique. Let's start with the health news for today. Let's start with the USA layoff of thousands of people from the CDC, the FDA, and the NIH. Those are the health organizations here in the United States. Watch the video.
Administration is laying off thousands of employees at the Department of Health and Human Services in what it calls a sweeping restructuring of the agency in charge of public health, food safety, and medical research. The layoffs are part of a more expansive plan by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to reorganize major programs under a new office. The effort involves slashing roughly 10,000 jobs within the department through layoffs and another 10,000 employees through early retirement and voluntary separations. The move comes after a series of executive actions by President Donald Trump, including one last week rescinding collective bargaining rights for federal health agency employees. The action impacts unionized federal workers at the CDC, FDA, and other agencies. Democrats criticize the move, arguing it jeopardizes the nation's ability to monitor disease outbreaks as well as food and medical safety, including limiting money for research and insurance programs. Under the job cuts, the FDA will lose 3,500 employees, the CDC 2,400. The National Institutes for Health will lose 1,200, and the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services will eliminate 300, according to HHS officials. Union officials say the cuts will impact positions in human resources, finance, IT, and others. RFK Jr. recently criticized the agency for having a sprawling bureaucracy while failing to improve Americans' health and promised to do more with less.
During the Biden administration, HHS's budget increased by 38%, and its staffing increased by 17%, but all that money has failed to improve the health of Americans. I want to promise you now that we're going to do more with less. No American is going to be left behind.
The Trump administration contends the cuts are needed to improve efficiency and argued the current size of the department has not improved health outcomes.
Wow. So let's continue with Mr. Kennedy. The next video talk about how what are his recommendations when it comes to the COVID vaccine for pregnant women and for children. Let's watch.
Unprecedented move. Health Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has unilaterally rolled back the once recommended COVID shots for children and pregnant women.
Last year, the Biden administration urged healthy children to get yet another COVID shot despite the lack of any clinical data.
So Kennedy, a longtime anti-vaxxer, made the announcement on X alongside the NIH director and the FDA commissioner. The trio called it common sense and good science. Doctors say pregnant women are at increased risk of becoming severely ill with the virus, and pediatricians even point out that the youngest infants face the highest risks for hospitalization.
Yes, we're no longer in a pandemic, but the virus still exists. So it is important for us to try to have the best defense that we can.
So today's announcement also cut out a process where the CDC's independent panel of advisors vote for any new or updated recommendations to the immunization schedule. Dr. Elena McDonald says this opens up even more uncertainty about what doctors and even parents can expect this fall.
If we're saying that is no longer part of the recommendations from the CDC, then the insurance companies may opt out of covering them.
So Dr. McDonald says it's not just insurance coverage, but also availability that's in jeopardy because manufacturers may not make as much without a federal government recommendation. Last year, the CDC says 14% of children got this vaccine. Brian.
Certainly something a lot of people talking about today. Christy, thank you.
Do you think that people should be able to buy junk food with their food stamps or EBT? Let's see.
In 2023, 25% of people here in South Carolina were eligible for SNAP benefits for buying food. Robert F. Kennedy Jr., the new Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services, is now looking to focus the program on healthier options. Cameron Limes explains what that can mean.
It's too vague, it doesn't, too much room for gray area, and it's going to become a problem.
We cannot mess with these programs with knee-jerk reactions.
RFK Jr. has proposed changing the items eligible to be purchased with food stamps, saying they should go in a healthier direction and limit the amount of highly processed food and, quote, junk food people could buy.
And like you say, these fresh produce stuff, they cost more money. So if I'm only getting $100, $200 on food stamps, a carton of egg is $10 now. You know, I could spend $20 on a loaf of bread, a carton of egg, a loaf of bread, a gallon of milk, and a carton of eggs. I already spent $20.
And with prices climbing, people are turning to cheaper alternatives. But for those who live in so-called food deserts, areas where there are no or limited grocery stores, fresh food is often hard to come by.
And in a lot of places in America, specifically here in the Low Country, we have what we call food deserts.
Again, in these lower end neighborhoods, especially in the lower black communities, that's all we have is the fast foods and stuff. We don't have, there's not a lot of fresh produce stores out here.
There's still a lot of confusion around exactly what the new rules of SNAP benefits could be.
Beans, is that considered junk food? Like when you start just putting a vague out there, you want to get rid of sugary drinks. Gatorade has sugar in it, right? So what are we talking when you say you want to get rid of sugary drinks? Soda. Okay, so now we're talking just zero sodas and sugar-free drinks.
For people who want to learn about how to use their SNAP benefits to get healthier food, education is available through the SNAP Ed website. Working for you, Cameron Limes, News 4.
Wow. I think the solution for this will be to create cleaner foods and then more availability of the nutritional foods for the people that, have to use the SNAP. Now, for the next news, the Make America Healthy Again is being backlash. Watch the video.
Months, the Make America Healthy Again movement is transforming U.S. health agencies. Once Democratic royalty, RFK Jr. dropped out of the 2024 presidential race and endorsed Donald Trump, ultimately becoming his health secretary.
I normally buy these eggs.
For voters like Bernadine Francis, a lifelong Democrat, it all came down to one issue: Maha.
Do you think that's why so many people just like you ended up voting for President Trump for the first time? Just because of this one issue?
Yes.
And turn a blind eye to maybe the other things you don't like?
Nothing else mattered.
Make America Healthy Again hat
is
Make America Healthy thing.
It's not our movement. It's a movement of the American people, of moms and dads who have said something's not right.
Many Americans questioning the public health system. For example, just over half say they trust the FDA. The question is, how much skepticism is driven by real problems in the system versus the elevation of figures like RFK Jr., who has a history of spreading misinformation. Inside the FDA, in some ways, it's business as usual.
And here, researchers are developing test methods for medical devices that millions of Americans could end up using.
But RFK Jr.'s hand-picked FDA commissioner, a Johns Hopkins surgeon, wants to reshape the agency's mission.
I don't think the surge of chronic diseases in our lifetime is a genetic or willpower problem. This is something that adults are doing to children. We are feeding ultra-processed foods loaded with chemicals that are banned in Europe. We don't even understand some of these things.
He points to nutrition guidance as an example of misinformation pushed by the government.
Are you saying that the public health system in America has essentially been bought by big pharma and food industries?
There's been corruption, for sure. I mean, you look at the food pyramid, it was not based on what's best for you. It was based on what companies wanted you to buy.
Is there going to be a new food pyramid?
There's going to be an entirely new nutrition guidance.
Maha hasn't gone without controversy.
The Maha Commission report sets the agenda.
That 75-page report, focused on ultra-processed foods and environmental toxins, cited some studies that didn't exist, since corrected, and left out leading causes of death for children like gun violence. Then a back and forth on the COVID vaccine. Research shows the side effects are less dangerous than getting the virus itself. The administration first telling Americans the shot is no longer recommended for healthy children and pregnant women. Critics sounded the alarm.
It doesn't make sense. I think it puts children unnecessarily in harm's way.
Then, days later, the guidance updated, urging parents to consult with their doctors instead.
Is it just trading one public distrust or one form of public distrust for another?
Yeah, my experience with Secretary Robert F. Kennedy is that he listens. The questions he's asking are the questions most Americans are asking.
COVID clearly a turning point for voters like Francis, a former public school administrator who voted for President Biden in 2020.
I think that was when the big change became in terms of my political affiliation.
You had to get vaccinated or you would lose your job.
Yes.
She says she isn't anti-vax, and it isn't just about the vaccines.
I have 4 daughters, and health have always been very important to my family. They didn't do a lot of junk, didn't eat a lot of sweets.
Dr. Dawn Musalim is not part of the MAHA movement, but also believes some core MAHA ideas, like exercise and eating minimally processed foods, can have a profound impact. She's an oncologist with her own incredible story of survival.
We have to trust the conventional medicine.
Through medical treatments, she survived stage 4 cancer and, after heart failure, received a life-saving transplant. Then ran a marathon 1 year later.
How has that experience changed the way you practice medicine? It's changed it so much, Julie. You know, I learned a lot in medical school, but nothing compared to what I learned being a patient.
She says medical misinformation is a real problem. Her purpose now to elevate modern medicine and a healthy lifestyle.
Patients come in with all these questions, fears. They're terrified of what they eat because there's so much influence by non-medical experts.
Influence online and now in government, as doctors like Dawn try to help her patients make sense of it all. Julie Sirkin, NBC News.
Good. Now, for the next news, it's going to be, they are removing dyes, artificial dyes from our food. Isn't that awesome?
I want to bring in FDA Commissioner Marty McCary. Marty, thanks so much for joining us. I promise you we're going to have you in the studio in the not-too-distant future. I appreciate the time you always make for our show, so thank you. When we went to break, Marty, we showed our audience some consumer goods, some of which might have artificial dyes. There's a new effort to remove them, some undertaken by the private sector. There's some scrutiny from the administration. Walk my audience through the necessity of that.
Well, look, most of these artificial dyes are petroleum-based products, and they've been studied in clinical trials. Parents, if we listen to parents, have said that they've noticed different behavior in children. And when they eliminate these dyes, they can see behavior improve. So we've got to listen to all of these data points and not take risks with our nation's children. We asked as an administration for food companies to remove all the petroleum-based food dyes from the U.S. food supply and to do it quickly. And we've been working individually with these food companies with some great results. Now, they see the demand. They see states starting to do a patchwork of legislation, and they see that Republican, Democrat, and independent moms showed up in high numbers to vote for President Trump over this very issue that Secretary Kennedy has championed. General Mills came out with a pledge to remove all these petroleum-based dyes. Kraft Heinz, one of the largest food makers in the United States. We saw other food makers. We're talking to some of the others out there. Mars, one of the largest candy companies in the world, announced removing titanium dioxide recently, which is another ingredient separate from the dyes that we've been concerned about. So this is a great sort of democratic mission where we are responding to the science and responding to public demand.
Is this an example, Marty, of the consumers getting ahead of the companies and maybe even a little bit ahead of the government?
You know, we saw this with sugar. When parents learned about the harms of high sugar loads in the food, that is added sugar, not the complex carbohydrates bound to fiber in fruits. We're talking about added sugar. You started to see the food manufacturers respond, even marketing as having low sugar or no added sugar. And so that created an ecosystem whereby we can educate people and also allow the food industry to respond to that. The bigger question is, what about taxpayer dollars that go to food? And so you've seen the first wave of SNAP waivers whereby states now are saying we don't want to pay with tax dollars for these sugary drinks and other foods that we consider to be junk food.
Marty, I want to ask you about infant formula because the FDA, as I understand it, is reviewing it for the first time in decades. And the concern is about seed oil. But some experts are concerned that this review might signal to mothers and fathers that there is something inherently risky about infant formula now. Do you want them to reach that conclusion?
Well, it's much larger than the topic of seed oils. And the data on seed oils is in part unknown because we need more research on seed oils. There is some research that shows that when primates are fed, baby primates and pregnant primates are fed one type of seed oil versus another, it actually can affect the visual acuity of the young primates. That's a study that's been published. We don't want to demonize any one ingredient, but we had an expert panel here at the FDA 3 weeks ago, and they talked about the heavy metals in infant formula. And moms want infant formula brands without the high levels of heavy metals. They want infant formula without added sugar. They want infant formula without seed oils. So we want to see innovation in this space. Part of the reason you have not seen any change in infant formula in nearly 30 years is that it's a regulatory failure. The FDA has basically issued a recipe and said, if you want to be approved in a sort of expeditious way, you have to use this recipe of ingredients. And that recipe has had no changes in about 30 years, except for just the addition of selenium. Well, the field of nutrition has matured a lot over those 30 years.
So, Marty, for a parent who might be listening to us now or in the future on social media, you talked about that recipe hasn't been changed in decades. Are you saying that that recipe is unsafe?
I'm saying that it could be improved, that the field of nutrition science has come a long way since that recipe was put into place, and we can do better. A mom should know that breast milk is the best form of nutrition for newborns. That's been well established and a part of the CDC Healthy Kids 2020, Healthy People 2030 goals for years to increase breastfeeding rates in the United States. But many women cannot breastfeed for a number of reasons, either personal or physiologic. And so for those children, we need to ensure that there are safe and healthy options with baby formula. I want people to get educated, and I want to see the nutrition science that has matured get incorporated into better regulatory flexibility, because we also want to see new products come to market, Major. You know, we don't want to see a supply chain breakdown where there's a shortage and babies literally die.
Did you hear the news carefully? How, as a consumer, we have power to change things when it comes to the food industry? I hope you listen to that. So let's go to the next news. The next is how to stay healthy this summer, even though that we have a new variant when it comes to the COVID. How we can stay healthy. Let's watch.
Medical contributor Dr. Kavita Patel with more on all this. So Dr. Patel, staying with COVID, what do you make of the apparent difference here we're seeing in the guidance between the CDC and the Trump administration? How should parents interpret all this?
Yeah, I think it leaves parents and honestly, Joe, clinicians confused because there's contradicting guidance, as Liz mentioned in her piece. I do think that the bottom line is that you need to have a conversation with a health professional if you are a healthy pregnant woman. And I would highly encourage the American College of Obstetricians and Gynecologists has already put out a statement that they recommend all pregnant women get the COVID vaccine. There actually have been trials done that included pregnant women and there were no adverse events and it showed a large benefit. And then if you're a parent with a healthy child under the age of 18, you're also going to need to have a conversation. But again, the American Academy of Pediatrics also recommended that children, healthy children, including young ones, especially who are at risk of hospitalizations and death, that they also get the COVID shots. But it's going to get, unfortunately, tricky as we're waiting for more detailed guidance in writing. So far, it's been videos, social media, and a CDC website that indicates it should be done with a conversation with your doctor.
Yeah, and this comes as the World Health Organization monitors a new COVID variant that's now been reported here in the U.S. What should we know about this?
Right. So this is not surprising that we're seeing new variants. And so this is NB181. It's on the heels of what's already the dominant variant across the world called LP81. all those numbers and letters mean is that we're seeing genetic differences that are different from the previous strains. There are no signs right now today, Joe, that in the United States or even globally, that one is causing more of a potential problem in terms of disease or hospitalizations. So this is something that we're going to closely monitor. And especially as we enter into what we expect will be a busy winter season with lots of viruses, including COVID, it's just another reminder that you need to kind of take precaution. Nobody wants to miss work or school because they're sick. And these are one of the many reasons that people could do that. Vaccines can help, but if you get symptoms, see a doctor.
Well, all I suggest is to do the research for yourself and then talk to your doctor, okay? So this is all for today. Back to you, Veronique.
Hey, everyone, and welcome back to MBN&x. We are diving into some intriguing global headlines. So, let's jump right into the next news story. Remember, it's important to stay informed and engaged in global affairs. So, let's stay connected and keep each other in the loop about what's happening around the world. Again, don't forget to hit like if you enjoyed this video and subscribe for more intriguing content coming up next.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aida, for that report on health. Indeed, we are having a lot of challenge, but there's a lot also going on. And we know that a lot of improvement on Earth will be a better place to be. So that being said, we are witnessing a huge shakeup around the globe. And the best way to keep the momentum is making sure to do the right thing and to be in the right place at the right time. To put the right people on the government and ensuring accountability for the best interest of we the people. Once that is done, then we could really live that life, that better life, or that better place on Earth. Well, this wraps up today's edition of Mamlakak Broadcast News special report on global headlines update for the month of June 2025.